Hello, welcome to Maths by Miss B. In this video we'll be looking at solving simultaneous equations, but this time using the substitution method. In my previous two videos we've looked at solving these simultaneous equations but using the elimination method. So let's see what's different here. So using the substitution method. Okay, so this time what we don't need to do is make either the x's the same or the y, because that's using the elimination method. Here we can substitute one equation into the other equation. So let's start by labelling each equation. So we've got equation number 1 and we've got equation number 2. Now equation number 2 looks pretty straightforward. I can rearrange that easily. Okay, so I can rearrange it and make x the subject of that equation. Now when I say making the x a subject of that equation, what that means is aim to get the letter x on its own, get rid of the plus y so it's on the other side. So you've got the equation as x equals. Okay, so let's just do that first. So looking at equation number 2, so that's the one we're going to work with first, equation number 2. Currently it's x plus y equals 1. I'm going to rearrange it so it becomes x equals something. So in order to get the letter x on its own, on the left hand side I will subtract y from both sides. Subtract y from both sides. So on the left we've got x, on the right hand side I've already got 1 there, but now we are subtracting y. So we've got x equals 1 minus 1. What we can now do is substitute x equals 1 minus y into equation number 1. And let's see what happens once we do that. So already it's 5x plus 2y equals 8. Let me just write that equation out. That's what we've got currently. We're going to substitute this equation and put it in place of this x. Okay, so let's see what we end up with. We've got 5, and in place of the x it's going to be 1 minus y, so it's going to be bracket 1 minus y because it's 5 times x, so it'll be 5 times 1 minus y plus 2y equals 8. Let's simplify this equation. So let's get rid of the brackets first by expanding. So 5 times 1 and 5 times a negative y. 5 times 1 is 5. 5 times negative y is a negative 5y. We've still got the plus 2y and we've still got the equals 8. Let's simplify this further. We can collect up these y's. Okay, so we've got the 5 at the beginning, a negative 5y, add 2y will give a negative 3y, and that still equals 8. Add this negative 3y to both sides. That way we can end up with a positive 3y. Okay, so let's just get rid of that. So I could at this stage say, let me add 3y to both sides. That will give me 5 equals a add 3y. It's just easier to get rid of the negative. Now the aim is to get the y on its own, so we're going to subtract 8 from both sides, and if we do that we get negative 3 equals 3y. So in order to get the y on its own we need to divide both sides by 3, and that will give you a negative 1 because negative 3 divided by 3 is negative 1, and 3y divided by 3 is y. And then we can just write this the proper way around. Y is worth negative 1. So what we've done here, we've substituted the x equals 1 minus y into this equation. Now the reason we did that is so that we could in a way get rid of the x's and just be left with the y's. It's always easier to solve with one variable. Okay, so now that we know y is worth minus 1, we can now substitute y equals -1 into one of the first two equations. Okay, now I know we rearranged equation number 2, so it's probably a good idea to substitute back into equation number 1. Okay, so equation number 1 was 5x plus 2y equals 8. So let's have a look. Okay, I'm just going to change a little bit what I've said. So now what we're going to do is substitute y equals -1 into equation number 2. Now equation number 2 is x plus y equals 1. Okay, equation number 2 is x plus y equals 1. So if y is worth -1, so we have x plus -1, that's in place of the y, is worth 1. Now don't forget, a plus and a minus become a minus. So really I've got x take away 1 is 1. So x in this case has got to be 2, because we could we could add 1 to both sides. That will leave us with x equals 2. So we have a solution now, which is x is worth 2 and y is worth 1. Okay, so what we've done here is solved simultaneous equations, got a solution where x is worth 2 and y is worth a -1. Okay, now substituting these back in should work nicely. If I substitute the x equals 2 in here and x equals -1 in here, should give 8, because 5 times 2 is 10, plus 2 lots of -1, which is -2, so you end up doing 10 take away 2, and that gives 8. That works nicely there. Okay, well, I hope that first one helped. Let's just have a quick look at one more. Okay, so in this one, what I'm going to do is, first of all, label my equations, equation number 1 and equation number 2. I'm going to have a look at equation number 2 and aim to get that letter y on its own. Okay, so looking at equation number 2, I'm going to get y equals 1 minus 4x, because I'm trying to make y the subject of that second equation. So I've subtracted 4x from both sides. Now I've got y equals 1 minus 4x. I'm going to substitute this into equation number 1. Okay, so let's see what happens. So we're going to put 1 minus 4x in place of the y. So we already have the 2x, subtract 5 lots of 1 minus 4x equals 6. Now we've got x's in this equation. Let's simplify this equation to work out what the value of x is. So 2x minus -5 times 1 is a -5. -5 times a -4x is a positive 20x, and that equals 6. Okay, let's simplify further. We can collect the 2x and the 20x together, and that will give 22x. Take away 5 equals 6. We're still aiming to find the value of x. What we can do is add 5 to both sides. That will give 22x equals 11. If 22x is worth 11, then x must be worth a half, or you can write it down as 0.5. So that's because we have divided both sides by 22. Okay, So we have a value for x. Now we can substitute that value of x into one of the equations to find the value for y. Okay, let's have a go at that. So I'm going to choose equation number 2 because I've already substituted y equals 1 minus 4x into equation number 1. So looking at equation number 2, we have 4x plus y equals 1. I'm going to substitute x equals 0.5 into this equation. So that 4 times 0.5 plus y equals 1. 4 times 0.5 is 2. 2 plus y equals 1. And then to get the y on its own, I can subtract 2 from both sides. And that will give negative 1. So we now have a solution of x equals a half and y equals negative 1. What you can do is substitute this back maybe into equation number 2 and see if this works for that equation as well. So equation number 2 was 4x plus y equals 1. 4x plus y equals 1. So 4 times a half plus a negative 1. So 4 times a half is 2. 2 add a negative 1, so don't forget plus and a minus makes a minus. 2 take away 1 gives 1, which is what we've got here. So it works nicely. Always check by substituting your values back in. So this was all about solving simultaneous equations using the process of substitution. And the way we can use this substitution process is by rearranging one of the equations and making one of the letters the subject of that equation, and then solving it by putting it into the other equation to find out the value of one of the variables. Okay, I hope this one helped. Please don't forget to subscribe and click that little bell sign so that you don't miss out on any future videos. Thank you very much for joining me.